Hey everyone, I'm at this side, and today we are going to talk about a case study on how Alibaba is leveraging Intel Xeon processors for its financial SaaS solutions. Right, so before going into the methodologies, let's talk about Alibaba business scope. So, Alibaba Group is a Chinese MNC that specializes in e commerce, retail, internet, and technologies. So, it operates in several key platforms. One of them is Alibaba.com, which is the world's largest wholesale marketplace, connecting wholesalers in China with business and individuals globally. Right, so this is the background on what is Alibaba here. So we'll talk specifically about Ant Group. So Ant Group is utilizing Alibaba plus Intel Xeon processors for their confidential computing finance. So let's talk about a little background on what services does Ant Group provides here. So Ant Group basically provides services with digital payment, digital connectivity, digital finance, and digital technologies. Right. So it provides several platforms for connectivity, for finance, for payments, and much more. So here Alibaba ECS GI8, as you see mentioned here, it's basically Elastic Compute Service, kind of a cloud service, just like AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is used for hosting VMs, and with the help of a data center processor, which is Intel Xeon processors, it is used for doing some processing capabilities. Combining both of them, we would get this confidential computing finance software as a service. So this is basically the backbone of both the things, Alibaba ECS GI8 and Intel Xeon processors to operate, and both will combine to make a confidential computing finance. Okay, so let's start with the aim of Ant Group, what they want to achieve with this confidential computing finance. So Ant Group basically wants to develop LLMs here. So LLMs is basically large language models. So large language models will be trained over a data set basically. So this data set will be sensitive data. So when Alibaba will give their product to a customer using a SaaS, right? So in that case, the expectation is the customer should upload their own data set. So they want to leverage their own data set with queries, right? So in that case, what they'll be doing is they'll take their data set, they'll try to train that data set. So when they train that data set, there will be some insights that we get, right? So that insights, will be easily queried basically. So let's say an example of a company A. So a company A wants to find that how many countries a product X, let's say a laptop here. Okay, so laptop, we can say a laptop L1. And how? So we want to know, a company A wants to know how many units of L1 was sold across the countries. Okay, so he wants to have a data on that. So what's the basic method is, we'll have an engineer who will collect the data set, will collect from the ECS, you can say the cloud service. He'll collect the data from the cloud, he will then analyze it. So this is all the manual process which will be done, and then you will get the output that okay, we have 10 countries, let's say an example, which uses L1. So in terms of LLMs, what they do is they train the data set. So what you just need to do is, we don't need to do any manual work. We just need to query to a model, right? That tell me how many countries this product was sold, right? So this was just a query that will be in a human readable format. So that's what an LLM does. So we train our data so that it should give insights on a human readable language, right? So we'll talk about the challenges first here. What are the challenges which are faced by Alibaba on implementing this software as a service? So the first one is to maintain confidentiality of proprietary and customer data here. So it's basically protecting its own IP as well, and to strengthen compliance and regulations as well. So these are the three challenges. They want to have a confidential data, they want to protect its IP from the customers, and they want to strengthen compliance and regulations, right? So let's say why this use case comes into the scenarios, right? So here's the company A. Here is a company B, right? So they here's a cloud server, SaaS, you can say, let's say a SaaS here. So if he wants to use a server, he'll use it. He wants to server, he'll use it. But he will use his its own data set, and he will use with its own data set. So there should not be a use case where he is able to access this guy's data set or this guy's AI model, or this person is able to access this guy's data set or model, right? So it should not be shared between both the parties. And on the other hand, they should not know what Alibaba IP is used, right? Right. So Alibaba don't want to disclose their intellectual properties that are used by them. So that's how the challenges which are present in this use case. So what we want to address is, for addressing these challenges, we are using Intel Xeon processors. So before jumping into the usage, let's talk about confidential AI here. So confidential AI computing is basically using in confidential computing infrastructure to run AI workloads. So it will be done in a kind of a hardware hardened attested TEE to protect data in use. Okay, so basically TEE is trusted execution environment. So when they are running an AI model, let's say I'm running an AI model, so this should run in a trusted execution environment, and this service is provided by Intel. Okay, so Intel Xeon processor has capabilities of, you can say, let's talk about these capabilities which are used by Alibaba here. One is TDX, one is TEE, and second one is TE, third one is AMX. Okay, so once they train their AI model, so that training should be done in a trusted execution environment. So that is TE here, which is provided by Intel. TDX is basically trusted domain extension. So both are basically very important for protecting their sensitive data. So just in case if somebody wants to do a malicious attack, right, so they cannot do directly, because the AI workload is running in a trusted environment which is isolated, and it will be so TDX basically uses some algorithm. So I want to just give a little insight on what algorithm it uses. You can just go over and Google it. TME MK is kind of a methodology they are using it, and this utilizes basically SHA-3 MAC. So this algorithm is used when the execution is going on. Not execution, you can say any kind of training or any kind of querying is going on. So it should be done in a sensitive, you can say, hardware hardened attested TE. So that's what we mean here: trusted execution environment and trusted domain extension. Okay, so these are the facilities provided by Xeon. And AMX, basically, as we talked about in one of my videos, so AMX is advanced matrix multiplications. So AMX is used for training DNNs, basically here, deep neural networks and model inferencing. So when we talk about LLMs, right, so large language models often use DNN for training purpose. So that's how AMX is utilized here for AI, enhanced accelerator, as a kind of a AI accelerator here. Okay, so let's talk about the core working here. Okay, so here we see this is an Intel Xeon processor, and this is the software stack that Alibaba uses. Okay, so overall this will be in their data center. Okay, so we are particularly talking about AND groups, which is a subset of Alibaba, right? So how they will do is they'll have a data center. Inside their data center, they'll be having Intel Xeon processors, and we talked about TDX and TEE. So for sensitive, like if you have a sensitive data which you want to process, or kind of AI workload as well, so both the things will be done in then execute will be basically executed in a trusted environment, right? You can say it should not be accessible by third parties or any other person. And AMX, as we talked, it's for DNNs, right? So those things come into the picture when we talk about Intel Xeon. So how the stack is built here, right? So this is basically a software as a service here, SaaS, which uses a trusted software, which is here TDE and TDX, TEE and TDX, and we do a confidential computing here. So it's basically on top of that this is done. So that's how the data is maintained confidential here, and untrusted domain admins and softwares here. So as we talked about the use case here, that this person should have access to its own data, not Alibaba ISP or some other person's data. So that's how they are leveraging this, both the kind of accelerators, built-in security features and accelerators for their use case. Okay, so that's how the summary here goes is, we have Intel Xeon processor here, which uses TDX, trusted domain extension, which is used for security and isolated environment, right? TE is for execution in isolated environment, and AMX is used for training model training. Let's say LLMs here, right? We'll talk about LLMs as we talked before. So as a summary, Alibaba is utilizing these three features, majorly these two features for finance purpose, because we need to have a confidential data in terms of finance, right? We cannot just to comply with basically the government rules, you can say. So as a part of data protection act, we need to save the, like, not basically save the data, we need to isolate the data from other third parties, right? So the TDX and TE are one of the major components which is required by Alibaba as their use case, and AMX is kind of a you can say bonus for them, because as they are training their AI model, so they don't need a separate hardware, right? As we talked in my previous videos as well, we don't need a separate hardware. So if the parameters are between like 0 to 10 billions, we can do it using AMX as an inbuilt accelerator, right? So it's basically cost saving as well. You can say it's a cost saving, better security, right? So these are the two major things which Xeon processors provide for Alibaba use case, right? Yeah, so this is all about the use case here. Hope you got some like high level overview understanding of how Alibaba is leveraging Intel Xeon processors for its usage here. So thanks for watching. See you in the next.